Okay, good morning. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to arrive. So get your coffee, get your breakfast. We'll start at 9:05. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. So again, if you want to put your name in the chat, just so I have a record of who's here and who's not here, that would be great. So today we are going to be finishing up muscles. So last week we spent a lot of time talking about how our muscles contract and that sliding filament model of muscle contraction, right? So inside of our muscle fibers and our skeletal muscles, we have these sarcomeres that have thin filaments of actin and thick filaments of myosin. And at rest, there's a little bit of space in between those actin filaments, right? And when the muscle gets the signal to contract, those filaments will slide past each other and we'll lose that extra space that exists. The myosin will reach up, it will grab the actin, and it will pull it to the middle. To do this, to pull and let go and pull and let go, the myosin will use ATP. Now, at rest, actin is blocked. Myosin cannot reach up and grab the actin. However, when the motor neuron sends a signal to our muscle fiber that it's time to contract, eventually calcium will be released into that muscle fiber. Calcium will release the block on actin, and the myosin can reach up and grab and pull to the midline those actin fibers. Again, so we got to pay attention to calcium, we got to pay attention to ATP. The calcium at rest is stored in an area of the muscle cell called the sarcoplasmic reticulum. If you remember, the motor neuron is going to fire, it's going to release acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is going to bind to the muscle fiber, open up some cation channels, sodium is going to come in, depolarize our muscle cell, and start an action potential. That change in voltage, that action potential, that electricity, that's what opens up the sarcoplasmic reticulum, releases the calcium. Calcium releases the block on actin. Myosin reaches up, grabs it, pulls it to the middle, uses ATP to repeat that process, okay? That is a very quick overview of what we spent most of last week talking about. So keep that in mind. Now, we are moving on now to the gross anatomy of our muscles. So let me share my screen here with you guys and make sure I have the chat still up. Again, make sure you put your name in the chat as your attendance record. So we're here in Class 8 agenda. If you guys want to open up the Class 8 attendance quiz and tell me your favorite muscle. Tell me your favorite muscle. Should be pretty straightforward. What is your favorite muscle? Okay, take a minute. Tell me your favorite muscle. What is your favorite muscle? Okay, so we're going to start with a PowerPoint. My attendance, yes. We're going to start with a PowerPoint. Let me just open it up. So I'm going to switch gears here because I got a few questions about the material that I want to go over. So we're going to just switch gears here, and I'm going to pull up. Make sure I have my chat open again. Okay, so I got a few questions and clarifications. The first was, what are some functions of muscles? I'm confused at what the functions of muscles are. So when we think about the main functions of muscles, we are focused on skeletal muscle. So these functions down here at the bottom, these are considered the major functions of muscles because they're the skeletal muscle functions, and we always consider skeletal muscles to be kind of like the major category of muscles. So it is 1, to produce movement, 2, to stabilize our joints, 3, to maintain our position and body posture, and 4, to generate heat. So we have movement, stabilize our joints, posture, body heat. Now, there are, however, 2 other types of muscle tissue. We don't just have skeletal muscle. We also have cardiac muscle, which pumps our blood and maintains our blood pressure. And then we have smooth muscle that does a bunch of different things, right? So it can move things through hollow organs like our digestive tract. It dilates and constricts our pupils. causes our hair to stand up when we're cold or afraid or listening to a really good song. So the minor functions are dominated by the cardiac and the smooth muscle. Muscles can only pull. When we're at rest, we have this sarcomere, and then it's going to contract and it's going to shorten. And when you think about that in terms of the whole muscle, all of those fibers shortening, that is a pulling motion. And so when you want to think about what a muscle is doing, you want to imagine that area getting smaller. We call the major muscle for a movement the prime mover. So if we're talking about elbow flexion, the prime mover there is going to be our biceps. It's the prime mover for elbow flexion. The antagonist opposes that movement. Usually it's responsible for doing the opposite movement. So flexion, the opposite is going to be extension. Abduction, the opposite is going to be adduction. Dorsiflexion, the opposite is going to be plantar flexion. So you can think of it in those regards. So if we're thinking about elbow flexion, the antagonist is going to be our triceps, for example. And the synergists are like a special class of muscles that are more involved with helping the prime movers. For example, they stabilize joints. Like a fixator muscle is a special kind of synergist that holds the origin of our muscle still. Okay, so if we think about the location of our muscle, we can think about what it does. So muscles for flexion cross anteriorly. So we're going to think about moving our humerus being the arm bone. And if we're crossing anteriorly, crossing to the front, we're going to pull our arm to the front. You're going to pull it in that direction. So our pectoralis major crosses anteriorly, and it's going to be involved with arm flexion or flexion at that shoulder joint because it crosses to the front, and it's going to pull the muscle to the front. Things that cross posteriorly are going to do extension. So our lats in our back are going to pull the arm back for extension. So again, it will help you to think about where the muscle is. And if you put your hand there and imagine something pulling in that direction, that will help get you in the mindset for what the movement is going to be at that joint. If we're crossing to the lateral side, then we're going to be involved with abduction. So our deltoids, for example, at that shoulder joint are going to pull the arm to the outside edge, abduction. And again, things that cross to the medial side are going to pull the arm back for adduction. So you want to think about the location of the muscle and what it's doing. Okay, we're going to come back to that. So I'm going to stop sharing this PowerPoint for a brief moment. And we're going to switch back to the Class 8 agenda. So we're here on the Class 8 agenda. And I want you guys to open up this Google Doc. Remember, you have to be logged on to your UNCP account. It will pull up this muscle worksheet. And let me talk this through before everyone freaks out. So first, take a deep breath. Everyone take a deep breath in, breathe out. We're not going to be intimidated by a muscle worksheet. Now, there are lots and lots of muscles in your body. If you ever take an exercise physiology class, or if you go and do graduate work or more advanced work in the medical field, you are going to need to know a lot of muscles. I'm not going to make you learn all of the muscles in your body. I am going to make you learn these major muscles, and I've broken them down based on their categories. We have head and neck, trunk, upper limb, lower limb, and what I'm asking you is the location of that muscle, the origin, the insertion, and the movement. Now, I will only test you on the origin and insertion of a few muscles. I will only test you on the origin and insertion of the muscles that are marked with an asterisk. For the rest of them, I'm not going to test you on the origin and insertion, but for today's activity, I want you to know the origin and insertion and put them in the chart because I think it will help with understanding where that muscle is. So for today's activity, I'm going to break you into 7 groups, and you're going to, with your group, fill out the section of the chart. Now, your textbook has this exact chart in it, and it has all of this information. This is where I got the activity from. So if you have your book with you, this will be super easy. If you don't have your book with you, I suggest you go to Wikipedia. Now, some people are going to be like, Wikipedia? I'm promoting Wikipedia here. If you type in the muscle you're looking for, on the right-hand side, it's going to have all of this information, the origin, the insertion, and the action or movement. Flexes the elbow, flexes the adducts the shoulder, supinates at the radial ulnar joint in the forearm, right? So It's going to have all that. So I'm going to break you into groups. With your group, you're going to fill out this chart. When you're studying, you only need to really know the location and the movement / action, except for the ones marked with an asterisk. The ones marked with an asterisk, you're going to need to know all of them. Okay. Are there any questions before I break you into your groups? Awesome. I'm going to do that, and then we will reconvene. Break into 7 groups. Okay, so your rooms are open. Please go into your group. Please go into your group. Awesome. Okay, you guys are doing number 1. Any questions about what you have to do?
No, we're okay. Well, I'm okay.
I'll leave you guys to it. Okay, you guys are doing group 2. Okay. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys are doing group 3, so you're doing section 3. Do you have any questions about what you're doing?
Kind of. You said something about being able to use our book. So, like, would we just go to section 3 or?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get the book. Okay. So I have a slightly older version of the book. If you go to your textbook, in chapter 6, the muscle section, there is this table near the end of the chapter, and it says superficial muscles of the body. And it's not broken down into the sections that mine is. That was just for the group work, but it has the muscles with the information kind of neatly laid out for you.
So, like, is it supposed to say, like, the origin, insertion, and, like, the primary actions?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, guys?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll leave you to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you guys are doing section 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
I'll leave you to it.
Thanks.
Okay, you guys know you're doing section 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
No. Pretty straightforward. Okay, well, I'll leave you to it. Okay, you guys know you're doing section 6, right?
No, ma'am. I actually did not know that.
You're doing section 6.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
leave you to it.
Thank you.
Bye. Katrina, you're doing section 7. What happened to your partner?
I'm not sure. Was in here by myself.
You've been in here by yourself the whole time?
Yeah.
Someone must have like left the class or something. I'm sorry. Do you want me to be your partner?
No, it's okay.
You're okay working by yourself? You're group 7.
Okay.
Okay. If you run into an issue and you're like, you want to chat with someone, I can come back into this room. Just send me a message, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave you to it. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Let's give everyone their last few seconds here. Okay. Welcome back. Okay. So a few last people. Give them their last 10 seconds. Okay. Welcome back. So hopefully this was a little helpful for you. I'm going to jump back and share my screen here. Okay, so again, when you're studying, when you're focusing on this, you need to know where the muscle is, what it does, and then for a few of them, you need to know their origin and insertion. And again, those are marked with an asterisk. And it's really not many of them that you need to know those sorts of specifics. Now, to help you with the location, if you go to your Class 8 agenda and you open up this link right here, it brings you to this folder, Class 8 labeling. And what this folder does is it has a bunch of PDFs that you can print out. And the PDFs have 2 pages to them. The first page is a picture straight from your textbook with a key terms list, like a word bank here. And you got to put all of these muscles on to the human here, okay? And then after you test yourself, the second page is the answer key. So you can then see how good you were. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to do some sort of active studying. Preferably, you have access to a printer and you can print this. If you don't have access to a printer, you can actually drag a PDF and open it right in a PowerPoint and then put text boxes. If you have fancy Adobe Acrobat, you can open it in Adobe and add text boxes. You can open this on your phone or screenshot it on your phone and then use like Snapchat or the photo app and write in or type in little boxes and edit the photo that way, okay? What I want you to do is test yourself and then grade yourself. That's the only way you're gonna know if you know this information, is if you try it without looking at an answer key, okay? So I gave you all these pictures. I would expect to see some of these images directly from here on the muscle quiz, okay? The last thing that we're going to talk about today is sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is age-related muscle decline. This is what happens to everyone as we get older, as our muscles start to waste away. Now, I was blessed enough to know 3 of my grandparents for most of my life, and it was really interesting to me to see how aging affects people differently. One of my grandparents was my grandma, and she was the kind of old lady who would swim a mile in the ocean every single day and go on her daily walk, and she was very fit and active and was still able to travel and tend to her garden and do all of these things that she really loved until a very late age. On the other hand, we had my grandpa. My grandpa loved to sit in his chair, and so he sat in his chair and he didn't exercise and he was not active, and he very quickly had to be in a wheelchair. He lost the ability to walk, and now he's in a nursing home, and he continues to spend most of his day watching TV. So with muscles, it's a use it or lose it kind of thing, right? You have to stay active in order to maintain that active lifestyle. But what this article does is this article goes into how we can help elderly people, how we can help older folks maintain their muscle mass and prevent sarcopenia through exercise. Now, as a science class, I think it is important that we read at least one scientific article for the class in order to say that we are a science class. Science articles are how other scientists communicate with each other. So this is an exercise science article. It's from a musculoskeletal aging research program in the Department of Geriatric, which is like older folks medicine. In a scientific article, it always starts with an abstract, which is a summary. So when you first open the article, you want to look at the abstract and kind of get an idea of what the article's about. The next thing I like to do when I read an article is look at any tables or graphs that they have. So this is like a moneymaker table. It tells you the different biological features that we see in sarcopenia and what the effects of exercise or protein supplements, like a protein shake, can have on older folks. So traditionally, we're going to see a decrease in motor units, but if we exercise and we have protein supplements, we can help improve that by increasing their motor units. And this goes through a whole bunch of stuff, right? Then I like how they end this paper because they have a second table where they give their general recommendations. So this is what older persons should do to help maintain muscle mass. You got to identify their preferences. So what kind of exercise do they like? You want to make goals and make an activity plan and slowly but surely increase the duration and intensity of the exercise program. Use proper warm-up and stretching, have them be supervised so they don't get injured, and then combine it with a protein supplement at least 60 minutes post-exercise. And then again, they summarize it in a key points box. So what I would like you to do for what would be the remainder of the class time is to read this article and to write up a summary of the article of about 250 words, answering the question, what are the benefits of exercise in treating sarcopenia? And I'll show you where that is going to go as your response. So again, we're here in our muscular system. And so for our class 8 assignment, please submit your sarcopenia summary. Oh, this likes to jump around. And please submit your summary here for the class 8 assignment. I watched you all fill out the muscle worksheet, the Google Docs. You don't need to submit anything for that. I know you all were doing it. What I would like you to submit is that summary of the article. Now keep in mind, we have a few other things that are going to be coming due this weekend. You have your comment on someone's post for the Module 4 discussion. You have a homework, and then due by Monday at 6 p.m. It'll open. Sunday at 6 p.m. is the Module 4 quiz about muscles. Okay, and then next week we're starting with the nervous system, and we are moving along nicely. Okay. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen to give you guys time to read that article and work on the summary. You guys are good to go to work on that, and I'll stick around if you have any questions. Okay, you guys are good to go. Anyone have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Enjoy your weekend.